You finish dinner. Big meal. Full stomach. Plates cleared. The logical part of your brain says you're done. And then, somehow, dessert enters the conversation. A slice of cake, a milk tea, a few cookies. Not because you're hungry. You aren't. If someone had never seen a human before, this behavior would seem completely ridiculous. Why would an animal keep searching for food after it's already full? The answer is surprisingly simple, because the part of your brain making that decision isn't living in the modern world. It's living in a world that disappeared thousands of years ago, and that's where this story begins. For most of human history, sugar was not a problem. It was a miracle, a genuinely rare resource, not hard to find, rare. You couldn't stop at a convenience store. You couldn't order dessert with a phone. You couldn't open your kitchen cabinet at midnight and discover 3 different kinds of chocolate. Sweetness existed, but only occasionally. Maybe you found ripe berries. Maybe you discovered fruit at exactly the right season. Maybe you risked getting attacked by hundreds of angry bees for a small amount of honey. That was about it. And because sugar was so difficult to find, evolution treated it like treasure. Whenever your ancestors tasted something sweet, their brains responded immediately. This is valuable. Eat it. Eat more of it. Don't stop. Because nobody knew when the next opportunity would come. The humans who followed that instinct stored more energy. The humans who stored more energy survived more famines. And over thousands of generations, that craving became part of us.
The strange part is that it never left. It's still running quietly in the background every time you walk past a bakery. The problem isn't that your brain changed. The problem is that everything around it did. And it changed unbelievably fast. Evolution moves slowly. Civilization doesn't. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived in a world where sugar was scarce. Then, almost overnight on an evolutionary timescale, we created a world where sweetness became unlimited. Today, sugar isn't just in desserts. It's in bread, sauces, breakfast cereals, yogurt.
Coffee drinks. Foods that don't even taste particularly sweet. Your brain is still trying to solve a scarcity problem that no longer exists. And modern food manufacturers know it. At some point, food scientists began asking a very profitable question. What makes people keep eating? Not after an hour, not after 10 minutes, immediately. What makes someone reach back into the bag without even thinking? The answer wasn't a single ingredient. It was a combination, a precise balance of sugar, fat, and salt. Researchers eventually gave this phenomenon a name, the Bliss Point. And what makes it so powerful is that it barely exists in nature. Fruit contains sugar, but very little fat. Meat contains fat, but almost no sugar.
For millions of years, humans evolved around foods that delivered rewards separately. Then, modern food engineering combined them. Concentrated sugar, processed fat, salt, all in one bite. Potato chips, ice cream, chocolate, milk tea, cookies, fried chicken. To your stomach, they're just food. To a brain designed for scarcity, there's something much more exciting. They're a jackpot. Have you ever opened a large bag of chips and promised yourself you'd eat only a handful? Then somehow, the entire bag disappears. And the weirdest part? You barely remember eating most of it. The first few bites feel deliberate. The next 20 happen on autopilot.
That's not an accident.
Modern snack foods are designed to be incredibly easy to continue eating. Because starting isn't the difficult part, stopping is. But dopamine is only half the story. The rest involves your body's energy system. Ancient humans ate foods that took time to digest. Roots, wild plants, fibrous vegetables, lean proteins. Energy entered the bloodstream slowly, steadily, predictably. Modern processed foods often do the opposite. Refined carbohydrates can be absorbed incredibly fast. Blood sugar rises sharply, insulin surges, then blood sugar falls.
And when it falls quickly, your brain interprets that drop using ancient survival logic, not as a minor fluctuation, as a possible warning sign. Energy is disappearing. Find more food, now. Which explains something almost everyone has experienced. A large lunch, a productive hour. Then suddenly, you're tired, distracted, thinking about snacks. You consumed plenty of calories, but your brain isn't responding to calories. It's responding to signals. And the signals are telling it a completely different story. Then something else begins to happen. Imagine living next to a train track. The first few nights, every passing train wakes you up. The noise feels impossible to ignore. A few months later, you barely notice it.
Your brain adapts. It becomes less sensitive to repeated stimulation. Dopamine works in a surprisingly similar way. When highly rewarding foods repeatedly trigger large dopamine responses, the brain gradually adjusts. The same food produces less excitement, less satisfaction, less reward, which means you often need more of it to create the same feeling. That small piece of chocolate that once felt amazing doesn't hit quite as hard anymore. Then the craving grows. And eventually, some people stop eating for pleasure. They're eating simply to quiet the urge itself. That's when the relationship with food starts to change. And just when you think you've identified the problem, modern food introduces another complication.
Camouflage. Sugar doesn't always look like sugar. That yogurt marketed as healthy, that protein bar, that salad dressing, that breakfast cereal, many products contain sweeteners hidden behind different names. Corn syrup, dextrose, maltodextrin, fruit juice concentrate. Different labels, very similar biological effects. Walk into a modern supermarket and you'll find more concentrated sweetness within a few aisles than many ancient humans encountered over long stretches of time. Your ancestors would have considered it unimaginable. Your pancreas treats it as Tuesday. So what do you do about all of this? The answer probably isn't more willpower. Willpower is useful, but it's limited. It gets weaker when you're stressed, tired, busy, distracted. In other words, it gets weaker during normal life. Systems work better. Strategy works better. One surprisingly effective strategy is changing the order in which you eat. Vegetables first, protein second, carbohydrates last. Simple, but fiber and protein slow glucose absorption, helping reduce sharp blood sugar spikes and crashes later. Another strategy is movement. When a craving appears, your brain is often asking for stimulation as much as food. A short walk, a few squats, cold water on your face, a quick trip outside. Small actions can interrupt the cycle before it gains momentum. And maybe that's the strangest part of this entire story. For most of human history, sugar was a reward. Today, it's an industry. Your ancestors spent days searching for sweetness. You can find it at gas stations, vending machines, checkout counters, restaurants, delivery apps, and nearly every aisle of a supermarket. The craving never changed. The environment did. The same instinct that once helped humans survive famine now helps sell billions of dollars worth of snacks every year. Not because your brain is broken, because your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's just trying to solve an ancient problem inside a completely modern world. And once you understand that, cravings stop feeling mysterious. They start feeling predictable. And predictable things are a lot easier to control. If this video made something click for you, subscribe for more stories about the strange ways ancient human biology keeps colliding with modern life. And if you've ever promised yourself just one handful and somehow finished the entire bag, welcome to the club.